Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar. We're with Mojo Hire and Foundation Medicine here for making HR systems work for talent acquisition. We're going to cover sort of how Foundation Medicine revolutionized the way that they recruit. So with that in mind, Spencer, if you want to jump to the next slide here, just wanted to do a quick round of introductions. While I'm talking, I'll go ahead and start. I'm Robert Dean. I lead marketing here at Mojo Hire. Background coming from the talent acquisition world. Spent quite a bit of time with LinkedIn, as well as other areas within the HR tech space. Excited to be with you today. And I'll go ahead and turn things over to Ian and Spencer to do a quick introduction. So Ian, why don't you go ahead?
Sure. Ian Ide, I'm Vice President of Talent Acquisition at Foundation Medicine. We're a biotech in Boston with about 1,800 employees. I've been there about 3 years. Prior to that, I was with one of the largest privately held search firms in the Northeast, Winter Wyman, where I was president of their contingent search and then their executive search business. I'll turn it over to Spencer.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, and Spencer, if you want to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Spencer. I'm the head of product with Mojo Hire. I've been with Mojo Hire from day one, and it's my pleasure to work with our customers and great partners like Ian to work with our engineering team, our ML team to build great technology for the talent acquisition practitioners. And I would like to take just a few seconds to run over what Mojo Hire does. I have a couple of slides that I can quickly go over. Oh, sorry, Robert, am I supposed to do that later?
Yeah, go ahead and turn it over to me. I'm gonna go over just a couple of quick housekeeping notes, and then we'll turn it back to you, Spencer, and we'll get rolling. So just a quick note, everybody on the line here is on mute. So we do have a dedicated Q&A, as well as I'll be keeping an eye on that throughout. So any questions that you have, please put it into that Q&A box. And again, we will have a dedicated time for that as we'll address those questions. Second is that we are recording today's sessions. So you guys will both receive the slides from today as well as that recording. So no need to take furious notes as we go along. And then sort of finally, don't hesitate to reach out. You have our contact information that went out with the webinar. Any questions that come up, definitely feel free to reach out. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you, Spencer, and we can kind of get into an overview of Mojo Hire and what we do.
Great, thank you very much, Robert. So Mojo Hire works with customers that have a great holistic talent management strategy. So these customers, they usually make great investment into these great and powerful systems like Oracle, like Workday, like SAP SuccessFactors to consolidate all of the people or talent database so they can start managing how talents move through the TA pipeline as well as internal mobility, all holistically on one platform. So once these platforms are purchased and launched, the TA team usually gets the recruiting module inside these big HRISs. However, in real lifetime, here are some of the big challenges. These systems are built great for compliance. They are great. They are built for process. Workflow. However, sometimes, most of the times, the integrations are just not done correctly because it was designed and done by compliance. The user experience is not really centered around the TA or the hiring management team. And also, even though you have all the talent database consolidated under one roof, there is no search, there is no intelligence to help the TA team to very quickly get to the qualified candidates that they should be in touch with. So what now, right? So Mojo Hire solution, we're a very lightweight overlay on top of these big HRISs, where we provide access and intelligence and experience. Access, since all of the talent database are consolidated under these big systems, we instantly, with a click of a button, give the recruiting team access to the qualified candidates that they should be in touch with in context of the jobs that they're trying to close. Intelligence, we leverage our artificial intelligence technology to do the people to jobs and jobs to people and people to people match. And most importantly, we have delivered this beautiful user experience that's designed around the workflow and how the TA team and the hiring managers would like to work. So that's kind of in a nutshell what Mojo Hire does. Thank you, Robert.
Fantastic. Thanks, Spencer. Appreciate the overview there. So want to dig in a bit more with you, Ian, sort of around what you've been doing and sort of the challenges, especially sort of pre-Mojo hire that you experienced in your time at Foundation Medicine. So anything you kind of want to share there would be fantastic.
I'll just give a little perspective on Foundation Medicine as well, in that we were founded in 2009. In 2018, we became a wholly owned subsidiary of Roche, the international company who's helped fuel our growth. I joined the company in 2019. We had about 900 employees at that time, and the goal was to make 600 hires that year. And so it's and that has continued in terms of the pace. So it's a high volume recruiting shop. We were on Taleo, and Oracle purchased Taleo, and then the upgrade path became Oracle Recruiting Cloud, which was a new product at the time that they have continued to refine. But just as Spencer described, we found that had we gone out and bought a greenhouse or a best of breed, I think we would have had a different experience. But when you're getting an add-on to an existing product, that tends to have its deficits that comes with it. There is a huge advantage to be able to have all of your systems under one roof. That was one of the drivers from hire to retire when looking at the overall people team and everything that they manage. But what it meant for us is a system that wasn't able to move as fast as we were moving, didn't have some of the features that we were looking for. And that led to us to look at how do we improve this situation, because there's a lot of frustration out of the gate with the fast moving team. And I was introduced to Mojo Hire, and the concept of being able to provide a solution without having to go out and buy a whole new ATS, which quite frankly, at a company our size at this point, we're at about 1,800 employees now. That's a big process. It doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of approvals. So this was a way to quickly bring some relief to the team, have the advantages of having the data integrity on the back end to be able to integrate with all the systems, but allow for us to become more nimble and modern with our recruiting system.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ian. Would love to learn a little bit more about sort of what drove you to Mojo Hire and sort of how that introduction went, and sort of how you met Spencer. So we'll hop in. We'd love to hear from you again, and then Spencer, we'll throw it back to you on the same question.
Actually, Spencer, you want to talk about the story that got you guys to me, and then I can take it from there? That might make sense.
Yeah. So let me cut in, right? So I had a friend. His name is Max. And he was working at Roche, and he's been at Roche for a couple of years already. He was looking for his next career move. He was very satisfied being inside the Roche ecosystem, but he wanted to venture out. He wanted to see if there are new opportunities within the Roche ecosystem. So he did a Google search of all the subsidiaries that Roche owned or had recently acquired. Then he came across Foundation Medicine. So he went on to Foundation Medicine's corporate careers job page, and then he did a manual search. He identified a few jobs that he was interested in. He submitted the application, and a few weeks later he got a call back. But however, he was overqualified, so that kind of went back to sleep again. A few weeks later, he was called back again and say, "Hey, we just have this new role. Would you be interested to apply again?" So long story short, the whole idea was that you had an internal employee who was looking for the next move within the company ecosystem. He had to do a Google search. He had to go onto some third-party job board. Then he had to do another search. Then he had to submit the application. Long story short, it was a very long-winded way for him to land that opportunity. He's obviously working at Foundation Medicine. He's very happy there. So that was my opening kind of story with Ian. When I first met up with Ian, got Ian on the call and said, "Hey, you know what? Did you know this is the journey that one person had to go through to get an opportunity inside Foundation Medicine? You have Oracle. Imagine if we can deploy that technology where whether it's for Max or whether it's for Ian, with a click of a button, right away, I see that great job match for the candidate, or I see a great candidate match for my TA team." So that's how we met, and that's how the conversation got started.
Yeah, absolutely. And so on my side, prior to joining Foundation Medicine, I had been through a couple software implementations. I had been involved in those. I had also had really good success partnering with smaller companies on that as well. And so walked into it in a good place in terms of a potential partnership. And what I liked right away was first the people I was dealing with. I mean, the partnership comes down to the individuals. I could tell that they'd be a great team to work with, that they were progressive and that they got it. But also the other thing I was looking for was the UI itself. And that struck me. You know, you can see right away if the user experience is not a positive one. And when I talk about the UI, it's not just the appearance of it, but the struggle when you're with a big box ATS system is how many clicks does it take to do things? And you find that, yes, they have the capability to do this, but you got to click it 8 times before you get there. And I could tell that they understood that. They understood the workflow considerations. And as we started to continue the conversations, the opportunity to potentially provide relief to what we were experiencing at the time became clear, and we were able to engage.
Fantastic. You want to expand a little bit on that? I'd love to understand a little bit more about kind of specifically the pain involved with that process of lots of clicks, downloading resumes, and like that you were kind of experiencing there, as well as sort of the solution that Mojo Hire brought.
So, you know, a couple things that we had out of the gate. One, no resume preview. And when you're hiring 600 people, you can imagine how many resumes recruiters are going through. So we had to download resumes in order to view them. So very inefficient on that side. There were some issues with timing out when you're viewing resumes as well, as part of what we were experiencing at the time. It's since been resolved, but that was the case then. There's a lack of flexibility all around. Some of that still persists within there. Some of that has been remedied, but things like if you had to change the start date on an offer, we had to restart the entire process and approvals again. If a candidate applies to one job, but we see them as a fit for another job, which is very commonplace, the candidate has to apply again. So those are just examples of things being very rigid and things that we were working to solve. Some of them are solvable, some are not, but no matter what, we were able to bring a great deal of efficiency to the situation pretty quickly. Also, we weren't accessing our existing candidates. It was very difficult to search for them. And so that was an untapped opportunity. We had several years of applicants that we weren't leveraging fully. So that was another piece. And then hiring manager experience as well. You know, the way that I think about it is if a hiring manager is dealing with what they're thinking is an out of touch interface, then they kind of translate to the TA team, right? If you give them a modern, slick interface, it's like, okay, well, I'm feeling a little bit better about the team being progressive. So there's some intangibles that come with that as well, but the hiring manager experience was something else that we were looking at.
Gotcha. Would love to dig in a little bit deeper on kind of that hiring manager experience. So it sounds like the challenges that the team was facing sort of prior to sort of dealing with Mojo Hire was that disconnect between the technology and sort of what they were looking at. Would love to hear any kind of specific stories, if you want to dig in a little bit deeper around the impact that it made to improve that relationship between TA and the hiring managers, and sort of how that's led to improvement within the overall hiring experience, both from the hiring manager's perspective and how maybe that sped up the process.
Well, you know, the bottom line, if I can stereotype recruiters, if something's inefficient, they will find a way. And usually that will be, I'm just going to bypass the system, right? I'm just going to move everything to email in that case.
Yeah.
And that's what you start to have happening, which is not ideal. Then you have a messy experience when you want consistency across the entire enterprise. It's not great from a compliance standpoint as well. And so once we were able to move things over to Mojo Hire, and the really fun part is what's happening now. Like I talked about the deficits, the gaps we're trying to close, but now we get into the point of what can we do that the current system doesn't do, that we want it to do, not just making it a slicker experience. So we've added candidate notes. We didn't have candidate notes prior, which is crazy. And that's something where we often have candidates that are applicable across different recruiters. And by the way, that's another thing that Mojo Hire allowed us to do, is to view the activity from a holistic viewpoint of the candidate, whereas our systems were built to only look rec by rec. And it's not uncommon for a recruiter to reach out to a candidate and potentially find out that they're at the offer stage with another recruiter within our company. That's not the experience we're looking to have for hiring managers or for candidates. So being able to see that has been a huge advantage all around. And so managers are really excited about being able to give feedback really quickly. We created word clouds, or I should say Spencer created word clouds that allows them, if they want to be very brief with their feedback, like not senior, or whatever it may be, not in terms of the specifics. And then they can also now add comments as well to direct the recruiters. So that's been really well received.
Yeah. So Robert, if I may chime in, right, regarding hiring manager, regarding the hiring manager experience, I mean, from a product design philosophy point of view, we always ask ourselves, okay, what is this single one thing that this particular user type wants to accomplish, right? So from a hiring manager's perspective, their recruiting team just submitted somebody for them to review. The only one thing is they want to review and they want to make a decision. That's it, right? So you don't want them to feel like they are logging into some massive system with a bunch of UI at the top, at the bottom, buttons on the left and the right. It's not about showcasing how powerful the system is. It's about focusing you by removing all the noises around you and do just that one thing. So our experience is once the candidate is submitted, hiring managers get alerted, they click on a button, then they look at the resume right away. Then they decide, thumbs up, let's move this person forward, thumbs down with some reasons, let's disposition them right away, typing some comments. So that whole review process can literally be within minutes, right? I mean, that's literally as how quickly as a person can read a piece of resume. And we've removed all the other noises around to help the hiring manager to focus on just one task. So I've been on different training sessions with Ian's hiring manager because they feel like, okay, I'm going to be onboarded to this new system. I need a training session. So Ian's TA lead lined up these training sessions with me, and we get on the phone with the hiring manager, and the training session literally lasts like about 5 minutes, right? So what do? You get this email, you click on it, you make a decision. That's it. And they're like, wow, this is going to be the shortest meeting I've ever had. And they walk away pretty happy because that's the only thing that they need to do is just with a few clicks of a button, and they're done with their task. And everything is documented, consolidated under one roof. So there's that historical record of every single thought, every single comments, right, for the TA team to continue to use down the road. Yeah, so that's just what I wanted to share.
Fantastic. So Ian, that you'd say as far as like TA dealing with the hiring managers, this is kind of sped up that process to where they're adopting this system because it's easy to use compared to the difficulty and sort of the process prior to where it was very convoluted.
Correct. This is a much more streamlined process, both for the recruiters and the hiring managers.
Fantastic. Love it. Would love to dive just a little bit into implementation of Mojo Hire and sort of what that process looked like. So Ian, I guess we can go ahead and start with you on sort of as that partnership began and as we sort of launched, what implementation looked like and what was adoption from your team and sort of the reaction there.
Overall, it went well in that first off, Mojo Hire was a great partner. Communication was great. We were able to get through the normal hurdles that happen when signing on to a regulated company. And they partnered with technology. They partnered with procurement with our help to get through those pieces. Then when we went to go live, we purposely piloted it. You know, it was a new system. We tried to just select a subset of recruiters in an area that would work best and would be the right people to adopt the technology, be able to make sure that things are working. And we wanted to approach it that way so that they could then be advocates with the rest of the team regarding how well things were going or how hiring managers have reacted. So we've done that with each step in terms of functionality to try it in a certain area and then expand it from there. And I've been through a few implementations. This one, you know, they all have their challenges, but overall this went very smoothly in my opinion.
Yeah, great. Spencer, you want to jump in there and talk about a kind of implementation on our side?
It's really a two-way street, right? I mean, we can do all the implementation as a vendor or technology provider, but somebody on the inside has to support us, right? Dealing with the provisioning, the sandbox environments, and so on. So Ian had a great team of IT directors to really, literally, they walked alongside of us throughout the whole process of integration, responded to our requests very quickly, got on the phone very quickly to validate the implementations that we are doing on a daily basis. So that partnership was just really, really smooth from the get-go. There is no problem that we cannot solve, but it is that partnership with everybody coming together. We are going to get there. We're going to make this thing successful. That's what made a huge difference here, right? It's the enthusiasm behind the partnership. And regarding onboarding, right? Regarding onboarding, for us, deploying the technology or getting a customer on board, that's not success by itself. So, we need to make Ian successful, right? We need to make his TA leaders successful. So that's why, Ian and I, we both strategized about how do we roll out. We could have just go a big bang. Oh, here's a new system. The whole team comes on board. But we purposefully, because this is a brand new system, we wanted to turn 2 to 3 people into internal champions. Number one, they have to validate the usability, how great or how bad the technology is for Ian. And second, once they fall in love with the technology, they can become internal champions to start virally, educating and also getting other colleagues onto the same platform with equal enthusiasm as I had. So that whole process was a phase by phase, step by step. It was extremely methodical. That's why we are able to, proudly to say now the TA team and also the hiring managers are actually enjoying this experience of this new technology platform.
Gotcha. Sort of tying back into that kind of new technology platform, would love to dig in a little bit on how the solution is sort of more of an overlay that's sitting on top of your current system, in this case Oracle, and it sort of isn't another siloed system, similarly to what Spencer was going over initially. And so throw that your direction, Ian, as far as working with the system and sort of keeping people while they're on another technology, would love to get the impact that you've had with that it's not its own separate system, and they still are working within your source of truth, which is the HRIS of Oracle, and anything you want to share there.
Yeah, I'll answer that from 2 different viewpoints. I was talking with a couple of people on the team about them getting used to Mojo Hire, and they were talking about now they just stay in the system most of the day. Whereas when they first got on it, they were always double checking it to make sure that, okay, is this happening in Oracle at the same time? And they would go back and forth. And now that comfort level has been achieved where they feel confident with that. The other way I'll answer it is another important development for us that kind of happened around the same time is Foundation Medicine became a government contractor. We won a massive contract with the VA to provide cancer testing to veterans. And with that, for anybody on the call that's gone through this process, there's huge changes in terms of regulation of TA that happens with that requires dispositioning of all candidates on the part of TA. And you combine the unavoidable legwork that goes with that task with then a new system that feels like it's even harder to get that done. That was another pain point that Mojo Hire was able to address. And they were able to implement a much easier way for us to disposition, including bulk dispositioning, which was huge. And to the point that you raised, we were able to use the interface of Mojo Hire, but then the data is changing in Oracle. When we get audited by the government, they go into Oracle to audit it. So it's incredibly important that that's all seamless, and it has been, and it's helping us to remain more compliant because the data entry on the part of the recruiters is easier.
Yeah. From our perspective, Robert, we want to be a blessing to the investments our customers have already made, right? So, Ian's team already decided Oracle is the way to go, right? That is the source of truth. And we'll continue to stand by that. That's where all the candidate database, that's where all the employee database exists. So now let's just supercharge that system, right? There are some deficiencies. I will not criticize these systems too much, but there are definitely rooms for improvement. And that's what we're all about, right? We're at this light overlay that we supercharge your Oracle, we supercharge your Workday, and we make it work for your TA team, right? Through artificial intelligence, matching technology, through a great user experience, while everything is still contained and maintained inside Oracle as that source of truth. So from a company's perspective, you're only getting more out of your investment versus, wow, certain parts of it doesn't work. Now I need to go off and buy another so-and-so. That's kind of our philosophy.
Yeah, fantastic. With that in mind, would love to get your thoughts. So being that overlay and being that Oracle's the source of truth, Ian, as far as the access you get to your data, if you want to talk a bit about that and how that's made an impact at Foundation Medicine of having access to data, to candidates that may have been there that you may have been missing, or even candidates that are sort of being added to the system from external sourcing, that how Mojo Hire is able to sort of bring that together. Anything you want to share there as far as impact that it's had and experience?
Yeah, our visibility was very limited into the candidates that are in the database. So this has opened that door significantly. And with the matching, they're able to see, here's candidates that have recently applied. Here's candidates that applied long enough ago that we now consider them passive candidates. But that's all right there. There's matching that's helping to help make those connections, bring them to the forefront. The ability to look for candidates in the system from scratch is easier. So for a company our size, that's a huge untapped potential, and we're making connections and making hires that we wouldn't be making otherwise. So cost per hire is driven down through this.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. That's definitely what we're doing. What would you say, Ian, as far as kind of the #1 impact of what Mojo Hire has driven at Foundation Medicine? The thing that you love the most, anything you kind of want to leave with there?
The way that I think about things is, in a business like this, especially when you're hiring a lot, you can tend to it's easy to fall in the trap of just thinking transactionally, when I think it's more important to think about the experience for the hiring managers, the experience for the recruiters, experience for the candidates and internal candidates. And this is elevated that significantly. And so that's been huge. The other thing I haven't mentioned yet that's been huge is having a partner like this. When you're with a big vendor and you have a feature request or a break fix, it's like, yeah, okay, thanks. We have a quarterly release coming 4 months from now. And that is what a lot of those conversations look like. Whereas this is a situation where we're getting on the phone with Spencer, we're meeting with Spencer regularly, different ideas are coming up, different changes are implemented quickly. Having a partner like that is huge, and it just feels like we're in control again, whereas it felt like there was a loss of control just being a small customer to such a big player.
Gotcha. Yeah, Spencer, you kind of want to talk about the relationship piece there a little bit and how you've approached that?
We like each other, right? So the partnership is great. Ian is generous in a way that he doesn't mind exposing his team to us, right? He has leaders in his team. He has practitioners in his team. Spencer, go talk to these guys, get their requirements. I'll help you to prioritize these requirements, and let's put a roadmap together. I know you got stuff that you need to work on, but this is how I prioritize things. How can we work together and move things forward? Sometimes, unfortunately, I do make Ian wait, and sometimes wait a little too long. But the reality is, as long as that communication is there, and Ian knows that he's at the top of our minds, and whatever his requirement is on our roadmap, and he's going to get it on so-and-so date, that partnership just gets better and better. So I also got a lot of different requirements, and now it's not necessarily requirements anymore. Right now, it's just we still meet on a regular basis with Ian's team, and they don't necessarily give us requirements anymore, but they give us feedback. Oh, you guys just roll this out, and we really love it. Or you just build this out, and if this can do something a little differently. Now they're actually an enhancement partner for us for the stuff that we have already built. So I treasure that a lot. That kind of openness, right? That kind of transparency that we share between our teams is something that I personally really appreciate.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and that's one of the things that did excite me about Mojo Hire too. Is how agile the company is. Sort of as I joined, with how they approach that learning aspect and really putting customers first, where we're taking learnings from them and constantly evolving sort of the product. So love that. One sort of last question, I think, before we transition into our next area, Ian, is just sort of around your team. It sounds like, kind of prior to Mojo Hire, lots of challenges around the change from Taleo to Oracle and sort of the issues there. Would love to kind of hear how your team has reacted as far as just overall team morale and sort of how that state of morale, especially with how challenging hiring is right now, and sort of how that has changed with sort of moving into Mojo Hire.
Yeah, we so like a lot of companies, we run an engagement survey annually, and there was an engagement survey. And one of the questions that come up, and it's common with any of these for people that have been through them, is barriers to execution. That is traditionally a tough one for companies. And fortunately, morale was good on the team. We did very well in the engagement overall, but where we got killed was the systems when we first implemented Oracle. And it was just like anybody reading it could see that the frustration level was high. And we just ran another one recently, and I was like, wow, they're like, it's night and day compare on that subject in terms of how much has gone away. And so that has consistently been one of the biggest frustrations for the team when you're running fast and you feel like a system is slowing you down. They don't have patience for that on the recruiting side. So we definitely saw a measurable difference just looking at that engagement piece on that front.
Fantastic. Yeah, love to hear that feedback and how that's making an impact, especially with again, like that state of recruiting today, with how overwhelmed recruiting teams tend to be. Like anything that can sort of help move the needle there is huge. Would love to kind of step back and change topics here a little bit into internal mobility. I guess we can start, and Spencer, I'll probably let you drive here a bit on internal mobility, but Ian, if you kind of want to kick in and talk about challenges that Foundation Medicine is seeing with internal mobility and sort of where your goals are to sort of work on that, and then we'll turn it back over to Spencer to kind of talk about how we're working with you to sort of see the vision of the future there.
Sure. Well, at the executive level, internal mobility was something that was really important to us, particularly last year. And this just had to do with our phase of growth as well. We had grown so quickly, we had doubled in size. And then when you're growing at that pace, there can just be this tendency to always be looking to the outside. It just everybody's used to it as a company. And there's a conscious decision to say, especially as we build out these more and more senior level roles, we need to make sure that we're leveraging the internal talent for those positions, or they're going to leave, right? They don't want to see people come in from above them. We want people to be able to progress their careers. So at the beginning of last year, we made a goal of at least 25% of our hires coming from internal hires. We were able to complete the year just under 30%. I think we came in at 29. So we were successful with that. It has been a top priority and something that we're continuing to look at. I think for many people on this call, last year was a surprising year in the TA world. There was a lot of attrition and movement across the board. So some of these initiatives got a little bit sidetracked at different times. But internal mobility is something we continue to look at what is that experience for the internal candidate is something we're spending a lot of time on. So not just being successful, but there's a lot of great people that role isn't the right one and they don't make a match then. How do we keep that dialogue going? How do we continue to make matches and having them feel good? Because they're at high risk if we don't. But I'll go to you, Spencer.
Oh, thank you. The thing that really excited me was the first call that we had with Ian. Ian had people, talent, mobility in mind, right? So he was not just in a silo TA world, and he talked about internal mobility. He talked about retention. He talked about internal employees being a part of his TA strategy. That's why our product strategy is we work with your HRIS, because that's where everyone is. So from a technology point of view, internal, external, ex-alumni, they're all talents. They're all talents that Foundation Medicine has invested a lot of resources and money into keeping into that source of truth. So what we do is we just come on top of it. we just kind of unleash all the data that's in there and make it very available with our matching, with the click of a button. Whether you're a hiring manager, whether you're a recruiter, it doesn't matter. It's all about getting the right people to the right job as quickly as we can. In context of Ian's current role, right, the vice president of TA. However, if you look at breaking down that silo, regardless whether they're external or internal, it's really just all about people. And then in context of internal, it has to go, internal mobility has to go beyond, oh, here's a new job in this other department in another location. Would you be interested? It has to go beyond that. So internal mobility to us is about employee empowerment, right? Empowerment, yeah, of course, to move around inside the ecosystem of Foundation Medicine or even Roche, and also empowerment to grow, right? How do we continue to probe and also in some way challenge the employees to think about where you would like to be 2 years from now, 1 year from now, 6 months from now, and leverage matching technology, leveraging upskilling technology to help probe, to help stimulate that conversation, right? So that is the next phase of our partnership that we're heading towards, is that employee empowerment that leads to a fulfilling opportunity that you can find elsewhere inside the company, and also bringing the human elements to it too, right? So today, if you're inspired to become a data scientist, for example, but you don't necessarily today have all the skills that's required, hey, let me connect you with this person who has been there and done that. So organic mentorship can be fostered from within through matching technology between people to people. So here are some of the high level concepts that we're exploring, not just with us, but with Ian as well. So really excited about the future.
Yeah, fantastic. Love it. I think like that's where that convergence between talent acquisition and internal mobility are coming, and the mindset's changing within TA. I think even the people that we've talked within customers and prospects, that's what we hear time and time again, is that it's going the direction of the mindset of an open role externally. Filling it internally isn't a bad thing, and then more and more companies are definitely moving that direction. So love to hear what's happening there. Sort of in the realm of time, I think we're going to go ahead and open things up to Q&A, unless there's kind of last thoughts you guys wanted to share.
I just think for me, I just think we are only at the beginning of exploring unleashing talents, right? Talents that companies have invested a lot of resources to keep and also to receive inside their systems. And we want to go beyond workflow management. We want to go beyond you click a button, something happens. We want to make that experience not only enjoyable to use, but intelligent. It's all about saving time. It's all about saving time, not just for the TA folks, but for employees as well, for candidates as well. So if we can automate that whole experience as much as we can with accuracy, and also make it joyful to use, that's kind of overall our goal. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. So with that, I'm going to go and open up the Q&A. We've had some questions come through. Definitely feel free to keep those questions coming. We'll stay on the line and answer as many as we can. The first one here, Spencer, I think this is for you. What systems does Mojo hire? What systems can they work with? And what does that look like?
Yeah, to me, right, systems is really just a matter of integration, right? So Ian actually just happens to be our first Oracle customer. So it was a customer-led approch. But the obvious big players in the rooms, the Workdays, the Oracles, and also the SAP success factors. So we would like to, all of these systems that we support. And if there are some custom requirements with certain systems that the customer is already on, they would like to unleash the power of that system by overlaying Mojo Hire. Let's definitely talk. We can put it in the roadmap. We can definitely enable that integration without any issue.
Fantastic. Thanks, Spencer. The next question we've got coming through, I'm going to throw your way, Ian, just at a question about sort of the growth that FMI has experienced over the last year and sort of where that's projected to be, and how best you think that Mojo Hire is sort of helping you sort of meet those goals.
So our growth continues. We are actually in the process of completing a headquarters in Boston that we will be moving into. That gives us plenty of room to continue to grow. So right now, I would think this year, and I include internal transfers in this number because TA handles that, we're tracking towards another 550 or 600 hires. I would see that pace continuing for the foreseeable future. And really, what we talked about in terms of the efficiency that Mojo Hire brings is critical. So we've realized that. But as I said before, now the fun part is all the new things we're doing in terms of getting to the next level. So we're building some great functionality around employee referrals that will really help drive that, and also give visibility to employees when they refer someone, what's happening with that, where that can be automated, which can be difficult to get back to employees and tell them what happened normally. So some really cool things happening that will continue to raise our game as we grow.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. And I think the last question that I've had come in, just sort of around internal mobility, and I think, Spencer, this one might make the most sense for you, is with Mojo Hire, what does that experience look like from that internal mobility play from the employee?
Yeah, so traditionally, internal mobility, there is a job board, right? There's an internal job board. So a lot of companies, they say, yeah, we have internal mobility because we have an internal job board. But when you really think about it, I've been an employee in large organizations before. How often do I really go visit those job boards? Until one day I'm ready to look at the next challenge. Those job boards are not used as much as, just having a job board doesn't mean that you have internal mobility, right? So we really have to kind of take a step back and define what internal mobility is, right? Internal mobility must include opportunities, right? New opportunities in different departments or in different regions of the country. That's one thing. And in order to get to that opportunity, what are some of the skills that I need to learn, right? Who do I need to network with within the company? So when we look at internal mobility, we really want to put that, I don't really necessarily want to think about it as a HR program, right? I want to think about this as an employee empowerment tool where they can come and manage their career growth. They can brag about their recent achievements. And at the same time, the system will guide them or have a whiteboard session with them about the different areas that potentially you could grow into, right? Just because today you're a junior data scientist, it doesn't mean that you want to become a senior data scientist or a director of data scientist, 5-6 years down the road. You might want to also decide you want to become a full stack developer. So can our system facilitate those kind of off the rail discussions, right? Today, just because you are who you are, that doesn't mean you're just going to go grow your career in a very linear way. There is horizontal path, there is 45-degree angles. All of these angles is something that we want to build holistically to help encourage that internal dialogue that employees have with themselves, as well as with their colleagues, to identify the path moving forward that they are enthusiastic and passionate about.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love that. And as somebody like myself who doesn't necessarily have that linear career transition, I've made a couple of pivots in my time. I appreciate and love what Mojo Hire is doing there. So, but with that, I think those are all the questions we've got. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up, but want to give a big thanks again to you, Ian, for joining today. Really appreciate it. And you too, Spencer. So thanks. And thanks for everyone who joined on the line today. Really appreciate you guys being with us today.
Awesome. Thank you, Ian.
All right.
Good to see you again.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.